what is a Nigerian student? I did my university here, but before that, I actually spent a couple of years in medical school in Nigeria. So I went to University of Nigeria Enugu campus for a couple of years. And before that, I studied secondary school in Jos, Command Secondary School,
Wow.
Jos, where I did my 6 years of JSS and SSS, or JSS and SSS qualifications. I didn't take JAM. Just to give context in terms of where I've studied and what is a Nigerian student. What I have to say is, for me, when I've been in spaces where I've had Nigerian students, sort of, it's studying in Nigeria, it's been a lot more competitive. The academic rigor and then the challenge and the pressure to do well is phenomenal, right? So here, there's not as much pressure. I mean, if you come from a Nigerian background, like myself, then obviously your family pressure is kind of carried on most of the time. But in Nigeria, it's not just the family, your peers, the school, the teacher. It's a structure that almost makes it weird if you don't do too well. They would kind of, make you feel bad about underperforming and celebrate you on the other hand if you do pretty well. So coming back to Nigerian students in the UK, which is the context of your question, I remember in my first year at uni here, when I was studying computer science, there was a colleague of mine, Donald. We didn't really know each other initially, but I remember that there was an assessment and some exams, and he did really well. And at that time, I was obviously putting a lot of pressure on myself because I felt like I was one of the older students in the class. As a mature student, I didn't want to do so poorly. I wanted to do really well. And it felt like, okay, I'm in a class where many people understand a little more about computer science than I do. I'll segue to a slightly unrelated but related story. First day of class, the head of department, Professor Robinson, asked the students, like, who here is fluent in a programming language? There are about 6 or 7 of us that put our hands up, including myself, right? And then he pointed out to one of the first kids and was like, okay, what programming language? The person said C++. He pointed out to another, that student said Java. Then he pointed out to me and I said HTML. And then the class burst out laughing. Then my neighbor whispered in my ear and says, HTML is not a programming language, it's markup. I'm like, fuck. Sorry, can we swear here? In my head, I was like, damn. Not only do I not know the difference between markup and a programming language, the whole class does. So at that moment, on day one, I decided, okay, I really have to work extra hard because it feels like I'm one step behind the rest of the class. After that welcoming session, I went straight to the careers office, spent time reading up options and understanding what it was that a computer science degree actually entailed. And then I worked really, really hard. So at the end of the first year, after the assessments, I was on for first class. I was on the dean's list. So I had moved from like being at the bottom of the class to being at the top of the class. Oh. And he was one of the other students that was also at the top of the class. So we were both on like first at the end of the first year. And I thought to myself, okay, you're a smart cookie. I'm going to get you as a study partner. Because he was actually the same person that had whispered in my ear saying HTML is a markup and not programming language. So we ended up being study partners in our second and third years. And it was rigor, it was good challenge and back and forth. And we ended up being business partners, actually. We set up a web design company, which we ran in our second and third years. But I find Nigerian students here to be super dynamic. What was also really impressive about Donald, so he had come to the UK to study, but he was also holding on a full-time job, 20 hours a week, as a security personnel, looking after buildings in corporate sites. He was also studying full-time as a computer science undergrad. And at the time, he was also dating his girlfriend, who was then to become his wife a few years later. So he was kind of juggling lots of things at the same time. And I find Nigerian students that are here that come from Nigeria have a lot more that they juggle that's different from Nigerian students that are of Nigerian heritage here and don't have as many pressures